All right, the first and only report is a report on the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, also known as ERAP, an update by Anika Lescott Martinez, EVP and Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, board members. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, CEO. And members of the public. I'm going to present a short presentation today on the status of the Emergency Rental Arrears Program, also known as ERAP. So first, their slides are coming up here. But our cumulative rent collection has decreased from 90% in 2018 to 61% in October 2023. NYCHA is only collecting 61% of the rent charged over a 12-month period, whereas HUD expects that PHAs will collect 100% of the rent charge. Our tenant rent arrears as of October 2023 totals $543 million across approximately 70,000 households, a $341 million increase. The pace of monthly increases to the cumulative rent arrears show signs of slowing. So this is kind of where we are today, and we're going to give you some good news on the next slide. So NYCHA submitted more than $128 million worth of ERAP applications to New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, also known as OTDA, on behalf of 33,000 households. So this program provides funding for tenants that are behind on their rent payments, and NYCHA was able to work with the state to come up with a batch process where we could apply for our tenants sort of en masse using their consent. So that's $128 million worth of applications across the entire NYCHA portfolio. We are in the process currently working with OTDA to review the submitted applications and start to apply arrears. And this, as you know, is a fairly new development. It wasn't until this spring where the state received additional funding and the ability to allow subsidized tenants, like our tenants, and those in the Section 8 program, to actually receive the ERAP funding. Previously, they were not eligible for the program, even though we had applied on their behalf. So funding, as of November 21st, so just last week, we received $94.8 million on behalf of 14,683 applications. So this funding will start to be distributed on a rolling basis based on the date of the application, and it's going to start being applied to the residents' accounts in the coming months. The tenants will receive notifications both from the state and from NYCHA when the status of their applications and accounts change. So it is a pretty complex process whereby we have to apply the amount that we receive from OTDA to the specific month for which they are funding. We generally haven't done that in the past. The way that NYCHA's rent arrears normally worked is you give us money and we apply it to the earliest balance. And so this has forced us to kind of change our process to be able to apply it correctly based on the state and what they're giving us the money for. So all that said, we've been working with our partners in IT, and we have been able to successfully apply $63 million across 8,122 tenant accounts thus far. So these 8,000 tenants will actually start to see rent credits on their January statements, which are being mailed to them this month. So in about 2 weeks, people will get rent receipts and it'll say ERAP credit, and they'll start to see those balances go down right in time for the holidays. Our rent arrears will also show decreases beginning on our November 2023 actuals. So the number that I showed you will start to decrease by the amount that is applied to tenant accounts. So just off the top of our head, we're at $543 million. If you apply $63 million, based on what we've been able to do to the tenant accounts thus far, that gets us already to $480 million. Which is certainly a step in the right direction. As we continue and we start to apply the remaining funding that we receive, every month you'll see our rent arrears balance start to decrease pretty significantly. This is not to overstate. We're still in a pretty tough spot with respect to our rent arrears, and we do need to continue to make great strides to work with our tenants and our city partners where we can, to help our tenants continue to catch up and pay their rent. As everyone here knows, our rent collection is paramount to our operating budget, it accounts for about $1 billion and a third of our revenue. So the more rent we're able to collect, the more services we're able to provide, or at least services we're able to keep consistent. Any questions?
I do, thank you. So we're booking it as the rent is put, the rent arrears are collected.
Correct. So as it goes to the tenant account, so OTDA gives us a large sum, they give us a backup file, and then we have to actually go through and take that backup file and apply it to each
So
tenant
you're
account.
booking it, that amount this year, so next year, the additional that
Correct.
hasn't been applied will show up as revenue next year.
Yes, and some of it might actually show up in December as well, so we are
Continuing
assuming
to
that
do.
we will continue to get more money from OTDA, the work is not completed. We're continuing to validate the applications and work with them to get more money in, we're hoping to get a total of $128 million. So we will collect as much as we can up through December, continue on a rolling basis to apply it to the tenant accounts, and whatever is remaining will show up in the 2024.
And you'll assume that is revenue for
Correct.
2024.
Correct.
And for those individuals who stay behind, are any on risk of losing their apartment? Are there any that are being currently warned of that?
So, Madam Chair?
So I think it's probably easier for me to answer that. You know, I've said so many times that our goal as a public housing authority is to keep people housed. However, with $500 million in rent arrears, people need to get back into the habit of paying rent. And we have brought, I think, about close to 3,000 eviction, 3,600 eviction proceedings. And we are going to have to continue, unfortunately, with bringing people to court for non-payment of rent. Because fundamentally, and everyone will see at our December board meeting when we present our budget that we're currently working on, given the fact that rent accounts for a third of our operating budget, we cannot operate efficiently as a housing authority without people paying their rent. So what we need to do, and I have said this repeatedly, when you have an average income of $25,000 and you owe, I think the average is $7,000, it's an insurmountable amount of money. But with the credit that people are getting for ERAP, and hopefully applying for one-shot deals from HRA, we are trying, our HAs are trying to connect our residents to outside sources like Catholic Charities. We need people to apply. We need people to get back into the cadence of paying rent. And that is the only way that we can ensure that services to our properties are not decreased.
And it's also a fairness issue for those who are struggling to pay. So
And the beauty of living in public housing is if you have a decrease in income, you can request an interim recertification and your rent will be adjusted accordingly. You need to do that if that's the case. If you haven't had a decrease in income, then you need to start paying your rent, period.
thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Anita. Great news. We'll now proceed to the calendar items 1 through 22. Items 1 to 4, Tony Maldonado.
Good morning, board members and colleagues. My name is Tony Maldonado, the Vice President of Purchasing, Logistics, and Inventory, and I will be presenting items 1 to 4 on behalf of Sergio Panicki, Chief Procurement Officer, for your consideration. All 4 items are for the provision of goods, therefore Section 3 plans are not required. Item number 1 seeks authorization to award a requirement contract to Big Apple Sign Corp. in the amount of $1,477,822.50 for the purchase and delivery of sewer cleaning tools. This is a 5-year requirement contract with no renewal options. A vendor name check dated November 7, 2022 was vetted by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Unit, citing no issues to preclude award. Item number 2 seeks authorization to ratify the award of a requirement contract to Elevator Technology Corporation in the amount of $1,442,774.80 for the purchase and delivery of general elevator parts. This is a 3-year requirement contract with 2 one-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. A vendor name check dated August 21st, 2023 was vetted by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Unit, citing no issues to conclude award. Item number 3 seeks authorization to approve a contract capacity increase to this requirement contract awarded to Standard Wholesale Incorporated in the amount of $302,454.21 for the purchase and delivery of mortise locks. This is a 3-year requirement contract. This contract capacity increase is necessary to provide capacity for the remainder of the contract term and to address any incomplete or pending releases and or requisitions for these materials. A vendor name check is not required. Item number 4 seeks authorization to ratify an amendment to this agreement with Sid Tool Company Incorporated, DBA MSC Industrial Supply Company, for the purchase and delivery of maintenance, repair, and operating supplies, which did not initially require board authorization for a 1-year, 3-month term, extending it to an additional 7 months, and a contract capacity increase to this agreement with SID in the amount of $7,231,303.94. This agreement is for a 1-year and 10-month term, utilizing the terms and conditions of the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services contract. This contract capacity increase is to address the excessive number of pending requisitions for the MRO supplies needed in order for the authority to be able to provide timely services to the authority's residents. A vendor name check is not required. Any questions?
Terrific, thank you. Items 5 through 9. I believe item number 5 is going to be withdrawn.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, board members, CEO, COO, Madam Secretary, and members of the audience. I am Lease, Vice President for Public Housing Operations in the Borough of Manhattan. Today I have the privilege of representing the Public Housing Operations Division, representing items 5 through 9. We're going to start with item 5. We are requesting that item 5 be withdrawn to be rescheduled for a later board date at this time. Items 6 and 7 pertain to bulk garbage carting services. Authorization is requested to ratify amendments for 2 requirement contracts awarded to Waste Connections of New York, Inc. The amendments extend the term for an additional 12 months. 2 contract capacity increases to fund the continued provision of services during the extended term, which commenced on November 12, 2022 and continues through November 11, 2023. This requirement contract provides for bulk garbage carting services on an as-need basis at various developments in Bronx North and Bronx South. The requested contract capacity increases are $1,007,366 for item 6 and $464,484 for item 7. There are no section 3 hires, vendor name checks is not required. Item number 8 seeks authorization to ratify an amendment to the agreement with Building Management Associates, Inc., also known as BMA, a contract capacity increase for the property management services authorized by Board Resolution 18-6/27-21 for a 5-year term, which includes a 1-year renewal option and a subsequently amended extending the term for an additional 2 years and a contract capacity increase to this agreement with BMA to fund continued services through the extended term starting August 1st, 2023 and continuing through July 31st, 2025. The scope of work includes and is not limited to furnishings of management, supervision, labor for property management services in Bronx Property Management Area Number 1. The requested contract capacity increase is for $15,477,555. BMA intends to hire 10 staff under Section 3. Vendor name check is not required. Item number 9, seeks authorization to ratify an IDIQ contract for all-inclusive maintenance, repairs, and environmental services in move-out occupied apartments, including court cases, in public spaces awarded to Earthlink General Construction, Inc. A capacity increase is sought to fund continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term, which commenced December 16th, 2022, and continued through December 15th, 2024. The requested not to exceed amount is $4,995,000. The contractor has projected 880 labor hours under Section 3. Vendor name check is not required. Your consideration of these items is highly appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elise. Item 10, Lakeisha.
Good morning, board members, CEO, COO. Thank you, Madam Secretary and colleagues. My name is Lakeisha Miller, EVP for NYCHA's Lease Housing Program. I'll be presenting item number 10.
Can you talk to the mic, please?
Requesting authorization to ratify the entering into this agreement with CBR Associates, Inc. for Housing Choice Voucher Administration Services, which commenced on February 6, 2023, and is continuing through March 31st, 2027. To be coterminous with the New York State Housing Trust Fund Corporation request for proposals number 210930, utilizing the terms and conditions of the HTFC contract. The not to exceed amount is $4,882,500. The funding type is operating and the source is Section 8. CBR is a non-minority owned business enterprise. Their Section 3 hiring plan was approved under HUD's labor hours program. The CBR has indicated on its Section 3 hiring plan that the total estimated labor hours is 86,250. And they have also committed under OEO to provide job readiness training to authority residents. They're expecting to train for an estimated 6 months, 180 authority residents for the duration of this agreement. A vendor name check is not required. Any questions?
I just have a comment, Lakeisha. We were told late yesterday afternoon that it's only other economic opportunities, so there are 0 Section 3 labor hours on this
Yes,
contract.
thank you for that
Okay.
clarification. Yes.
Alrighty. Are there any questions of the board? No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lakeisha. Patty, item 11.
Can you guys hear me through my mask? Can you guys hear me? Oh, yeah, thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name is Patty Barros, and I'm the CIO at the New York City Housing Authority. Thanks, everyone, for your time. I'm presenting item number 11 for consideration, which is a request to ratify a contract with Emergent LLC for the Workday Cloud application, license subscription for a human capital management system, which commenced on January 26, 2023, and will continue through June 27, 2025, pursuant to the terms and conditions of the Texas Region 4 Education Service Center contract for Total Cloud Solutions and Services. The item seeks authorization to ratify an award to this agreement with Emergent for an amount not to exceed of $6,034,553 over the 5-year term, including renewal options. The authority has made a major investment in an HCM system with Emergent providing the Workday application license and hosting, and Guidehouse serving as the systems integrator. The Guidehouse agreement previously awarded for implementation cannot occur without the purchase of the Workday licensing for Emergent. The new solution will streamline and automate various business processes and improve or add integrations for the following functionalities: recruitment management, benefits administration, workers' compensation, payroll management, labor relations, performance evaluations, employee transfers, self-service, analytics reporting, and content management, as well as others. This will also lay the groundwork for us to potentially implement timekeeping and learning management functions within Workday, allowing us to consolidate and simplify our human capital management practices into one streamlined technology solution. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy. Oliver, items 12 through 18.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Oliver Osterwin, Vice President for Project Management, Capital Asset Management. I'll be presenting the next 7 items. Items 12 through 14 seek authorization to award 3 contracts for roofing replacement and rooftop structure renovation at Lower East Side 1 infill, Van Dyke 1, and Morris 1 houses. The amounts of $5,405,180, $41,893,853, and $13,411,000 to Armstrong Roofing Corp., J&N Construction Group Corp., and Roma Scaffolding Inc. respectively. The projected labor hours, Section 3 labor hours are 3,120, 8,500, and 10,560 respectively. No questions, I'll move on to the next. Items 15 through 17. They seek authorization to ratify the award of 3 IDIQ contracts for ground improvements at various developments citywide in the amounts of $13,890,000, $12,981,384, and $12,981,384, 1 to Medco LLC and 2 to Empire Control Abatement Inc. The projected Section 3 labor hours are 5,500, 4,125, and 4,125 respectively. Any questions? I'll move on to item 18, which seeks authorization to approve a change order in the amount of $2,121,061 for the contract with Swiss Re Corporate Solutions America Insurance Corporation for exterior restoration of Whitman houses. During construction, the field conditions revealed that window sealant had to be removed under ACM abatement protocols. The revised contract amount will be $31,514,677, and the Section 3 hiring plan is pending submission. Thanks.
Thank you, Oliver. Item 19, Alberto.
Good morning, board members. My name is Alberto Sainz Tavares. I'm the Director of Capital Programs for AMCM. I will present item 19 today. AMCM is respectfully requesting authorization to approve a contract capacity increase to IDIQ contract, JAC contract number AS 192-4832 with Abatement Unlimited Inc. for hazmat work at various developments citywide, for a not to exceed amount of $2,800,000. The contract capacity increase will be funded by state, federal, and city funds as applicable to each project. No increase in contract terms is being requested. A vendor check is not required. Abatement Unlimited has performed 25% of their work so far with Section 3 workers. So if you have any questions, board members.
What did you say about Section 3, number 19?
They have performed 25% of their work
Okay.
with Section 3 workers.
Okay, with respect to the hours, they've estimated 1,000
Correct.
of the 4,000 labor hours.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Have a good day.
Item 20, Edwin.
Good morning, everyone. I am Edwin Mendez, Deputy Director for Energy Programs within Sports Sustainability Programs within Asset and Capital Management Division. I am here to present on item 20, in which we respectfully seek authorization to reject all bids for a contract to provide for the integration of existing rooftop exhaust fans into the building management system for remote monitoring of the fans at Carver, Jefferson, Wagner, and Washington houses. The sole bidder, Clean Air Quality Service Inc., submitted a bid in the amount of $4,600,000 $723,932, which is 107% above the authority's estimate, which Asset and Capital Management Division deemed excessive for the value of the work being performed. Therefore, ACNM is requesting authorization to reject this sole bid. This contract will be rebid. ANCM intends to modify the design and bid approach to institute a cloud-based control system for remote monitoring. Any questions?
Thank you. Edwin? Item Michelle?
Good morning, board members. My name is Michelle Moore, the Vice President for Comprehensive Modernization. Today, we're seeking authorization to enter into 7 master agreements for construction management services for comprehensive modernization projects. These contracts will be for 10 years, including an initial 5-year term, 1 3-year, and 1 2-year renewal options. We will enter into 7 agreements with 7 selected firms, and we will select from this pool of vendors to provide services for oversight of the comprehensive modernization projects, the last 2 that I presented at the last board meeting, as well as future renovation projects. The firms that were selected are Aptum, CHA, CSA Gannett Fleming Joint Venture, JMT TY Lin Joint Venture, Lero Hill Joint Venture 2, STV, and TDX. We do plan on coming back to the board for an 8th firm who has some paperwork pending for their joint venture incorporation. The firm is Nyack Vertex, so we will be coming back at a future board to add them to the pool of vendors to provide oversight for these projects. Happy to answer any questions.
That's a comment and a question. I was pleased that 3 of these are minority owned, and I wondered if we did anything special in the bidding process this time in order to get some more MBWE.
Sure, so the Comprehensive Modernization Program from day one has a real emphasis on including MWBE and Section 3 businesses as much as possible. When we launched the program, we held a very large networking event for MWBEs and Section 3 businesses and residents in downtown Brooklyn. That's where we brought a lot of these firms together so that they could hopefully team up. We do see a lot of joint ventures, which is also good because it's smaller firms coming together for these large contracts. As you saw in the last board meeting, they're large renovation projects, which means large teams to oversee the work, and we really do want to see those different diversity groups involved. We will hopefully, we know we'll see that as well on the construction side, but the construction management aspect is also very important.
Excellent, that's great, thank you.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you, Michelle. And item 22, Rebecca.
Good morning, board members. My name is Rebecca Fitzgerald. I'm the Senior Design Program Manager for the Real Estate Development Department. And I am presenting item number 22, which seeks authorization to approve a contract capacity increase to an IDIQ agreement for architectural services at various PACT developments. The combined total increase amount is $950,000. The IDIQ agreement for architectural services was awarded to Datner Architects and commenced in March of 2021. The contract number is 2020261. The term of the contract is an initial 3 years with 2 1-year renewal options, which will continue automatically for a total term of 5 years. The agreement was awarded by the Real Estate Development Department, and the original not to exceed amount for the contract was $950,000. The vendor provides as-needed architectural services for the PACT program, including ongoing design review and community planning support for PACT projects throughout procurement and pre-development phases. At the time that the RFP for the agreement with Datner was issued, there were fewer authority developments and phases that required their services. And so with increases to the number of developments and phases requiring their services, demand has increased. We estimate that an additional $950,000 will be required for this IDIQ agreement to address additional work. We are not requesting an extension of the term of the contract, and the vendor has provided a Section 3 plan that commits to purchase supplies and materials from Section 3 business concerns in the amount of 3% of the contract award. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Rebecca, appreciate it. Board, 22 items were presented for board approval. Item 5 was withdrawn. May I have a motion to approve the 21 remaining items?
So moved, Gavin.
I'll take William McCoy, seconded by,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And none opposed, thank you. And board, being that all matters before the board today have been addressed, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Take that, thank you, seconded by,
I'll second.
thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, thank you so much. The recorded end time, 10:36 a.m. Thank you all, the next NYCHA board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 at 10 a.m. right here. Thank you so much, everyone.